So
I'm not qualified.
what do you think is really happening with the ship that was in there? You think that these British soldiers were used as pawns to try to ignite another war against Iran?
Well, I just think if Iran really did take them and they really wanted to hold them hostage, they would have done what they did during the Jimmy Carter era.
Wait,
right?
You don't think that they really were taken?
Well, no, of course they were taken. But my point is that if they wanted to hold them, if this was a purposeful attack by the Iranian government to provoke an international incident, why would they say, well, we'll let them go and we're not going to harm them? We will let them go, we're not going to harm them, but you have to admit you came into our water. And British go, well, we're not going to admit that. Yeah, but we're not going to harm them. We're going to let them go.
If you're saying that if these...
No, I'm not saying. You can say, well, here's what happened. These guys went here, okay? Yes. Iran said, that's our water. Get out of our water. We're taking you back. Yes. Britain says, they took our guys. Iran goes, no, you were in our water. Say you're in our water and we'll give you them back.
Where's the line? So what do you think is the cause behind that?
Well, there are many, many ways to think of it. But historically, have governments ever faked incidents or incited incidents in order to get them into wars? Nations.
I'm asking you, has that happened
historically?
I'm sure it has.
Yeah,
I don't think this is the case right here. I don't think that there was a conspiracy between Bush and Tony Blair to put these soldiers in as pawns so that we can jump into Iran. I think we're going to try to use other methods to stop their program.
It's very hard in America when anyone from the Mideast has been so demonized that no matter what, it's impossible for some people to believe that the Iranians in any way could ever do anything ethical in any capacity. That they've somehow been dehumanized to the point where they're not people, they're just the enemy. They're terrorists.
We're not talking about the Iranian people. We're talking about their government, who essentially has total control over them. They essentially have zero say in that government.
That's how people see us, I hope, in the world.
That's right, our government, right? People, I hope people across the world don't think what George Bush is doing represents the American people, because the last election showed it does not.
But let me ask you this, like, what concerns me is that there's this environment now where we're almost more apt to trust our enemies than our allies, and that's very concerning to me.
Well, that is concerning when nearly everyone in this...
Bush administration for that. They've completely annihilated all of our trust.
See, I trust our allies and I trust our government much more than I trust our enemies on the war on terror.
But would you say, Elizabeth, that you trust the Bush administration as much as you did when he first took office?
Would you admit...
You know what? In a time of war, I think you are in a position where you have to trust your government.
Nearly everyone in this administration is under indictment or suspicion. Nearly every person, from Karl Rove to Rumsfeld to Gonzalez. What do you have to do to get impeached in this country?
You know what do you have to do? You know what you have to do.
The issue is, but even you worded a war on terror. I think personally that is propaganda.
Exactly, Russiagate. Thank you.
I don't like the wording of it like that.
Because it makes people into evil and good.
I'm sorry, but the people who...
But this
Johnny, whatever his name is, he's a bad guy. He's a very bad guy.
Joy, I'm not saying...
explicitly he wants to wipe Israel off the map. This guy is a bad guy.
Am I saying he's a good guy and I want him over for breakfast? No, I'm not. But I'm saying that in America we are fed propaganda, and if you want to know what's happening in the world, go outside of the U.S. media, because it's owned by 4 corporations. One of them is this one. And you know what? Go outside of the country to find out what's going on in our own country, because it's frightening. It's frightening. And if
you
don't
think we're being brainwashed as a whole country, I think not.
I think democracy is threatened in a way it hasn't been in 200 years, and if America doesn't stand up, we're in big trouble. $16 billion. You want to know why we go into Iran? For the money.
Listen.
That's why we would do it. And that's corrupt.
What is oil in this?
Let me ask you one more thing. Do you think the government purposely misled the American people to believe that Iraq had something to do with 9/11?
No.
Yes, says the crowd.
Do you believe that the government had anything to do with the attack of 9/11? Do you believe in a conspiracy in terms of the attack of 9/11?
No, but I do believe that it is the first time in history that fire has ever melted steel. I do believe that it defies physics for the World Trade Center Tower 7, Building 7, which collapsed in on itself. It is impossible for a building to fall the way it fell without explosives being involved. World Trade Center 7. World Trader 1 and 2 got hit by planes. 7, miraculously, the first time in history, steel was melted by fire. It is physically impossible.
And who do you think is responsible for that?
I have no idea. But to say that we don't know that it imploded and it was an implosion and a demolition is beyond ignorant. Look at the films. Get a physics expert here from Yale, from Harvard. Pick the school. It defies reason.
Let's get one. Let's get one, because that
I would do it.
Is the unthinkable.
It is the unthinkable, but imagine if somebody could convince you of that, could prove it to you, Elizabeth. Just 7.
I don't think it would happen, but I would, if someone could sit here right now and prove that to me, I would.
Okay, we're going to call up Harvard and we're going to call up Yale, and we're